Being a successful driver today requires a lot more skills than just being able to drive fast. You must also master the off-track skills needed to be a champion. Dealing with your team, the media, and sponsors, not to mention your fellow competitors.
If a driver doesn't like you and you've kind of made him mad and you frustrated him, he'll determine where you finish whenever he wants. And that's something that when I went into cup racing, it's a lot different than open wheel racing. You know, you want guys, I always feel like I always want guys to respect me no matter what inside the race cars. They don't have to like me. I don't go there to make friends, but at the same point, they need to respect you.
Myself, I was a young, cocky kid. I came up through go-karts and I thought I was going to jump into a race car and show everybody how to do it. I often found that experience was a lot of it, and it was about being really, really crafty and being a thinking man rather than just throwing caution to the wind every single time.
You're building a resume every time you show up. It's how you walk through the paddock. It's how you treat people. It's how you approach, and you go over to the media center and you introduce yourself. You don't wait for somebody to haul you around. It is showing desire and determination, eye contact. It's how you shake a hand with somebody. It's how you present yourself, how you're dressed, how you present yourself all the time.
At Penske, presentation is a huge part, and being clean shaven and hair done, and the black pants and so on, and there's a reason for that. It's because you're dealing with corporate sponsors, and you're representing big companies and people that you're representing their image with how you present yourself on the racetrack.
Meeting new people, it will only help you meet other people, because when you meet one person, they might introduce you to another person that you didn't know, and all of a sudden the connections form and form and form. So absolutely, trying to put yourself out there with everyone and meet new people at all different times is a very important thing. I mean, the networking of this sport is such a big part of it nowadays that it's definitely crucial for drivers to be able to do that.
You know, in racing, your reputation, you can't get away from it. You can't change it. You can't redo it. And it's such a small world, this traveling circus that we're in. And if you get a black mark, it's real hard to erase that black mark.
Absolutely. I mean, you got to watch what you say everywhere. Watch what you do, and that's been a big thing for me. Coming through high school, there's a lot of bad influences out there, but for me, I know that racing is in my head, and racing is my one true love and my one thing that I really want to succeed at.
The very basics of things, we need a driver first to be on time. So when I say we meet at 6 a.m. in the lobby for an engineering meet, I mean 5:45, or quarter till 6 or so. So being on time is the first thing I prompt. Commitment, obviously, is the second thing that comes in mind. And what I mean by that, everybody thinks they're committed, but who's really willing to sacrifice what it takes to be a race car driver these days? There are no free rides anymore. I mean, you have to earn it. You have to figure out a way to will yourself into a ride. And so it starts with the basic commitment. How bad do you really want this? Because, to be honest with you, it's still possible. It's still very possible to make it in racing these days and become a paid driver. But if you don't have the dedication or commitment, and I know a million people say that, but you got to have something that hurts you inside. And if you have that, you have a possibility of making it.
You can't focus on one thing. I think you've got to focus on so many different facets. That's one of the things about if you choose to become a racing driver. There's so many different areas you've got to be good in. Obviously there's the driving the car and all the different things that entails, the fitness side of things, as well as just having obviously the natural talent. But you've got to have the fitness side, you've got to have the be able to talk to sponsors, the media, all these different things are a side part of it, but ultimately it's about having the talent and getting out there and developing the car as well. That's another skill you've got to learn, working with engineers. But you can't be light on any one of these areas. You've got to be strong in all of them to be successful, I'd say, because there's so many good guys coming out of karts, guys that are getting introduced to racing for the first time. It's a very tough business.
Don't even bother trying if you're not going to put the effort in. There's thousands of people out there that will. So you got to want to do this. You got to be determined. You got to be focused on what you want to do, as well as being able to drive a lap fast. Really, your speed is maybe 5% of the whole picture. There's so many other things, with sponsors, how you present yourself, just the way you are with the team. The team's got to want to have you there. If you upset them, again, it's a short day.
As a kid, it's so easy to fall into a trap where it's just a hobby and maybe something that you're not so focused on. But if it's definitely an area that you want to pursue and maybe be a race car driver one day, it still takes a lot of hard work, and I think a lot of attention to detail is key.
You need to respect the people that are working with you, because your success is dependent on how much heart and how much passion everyone around you put into the sport for you to be successful.
I think the drivers that come along today are ready to race because of the system that most of them come from these days. They start out as infants really racing go-karts, and they move through a ladder system program, and when they eventually get to a large category car, they've rehearsed what they need to do, and our expectation is that they've gone through that system and they're ready to do it.
For an organization like Penske, it's very difficult to take an unproven talent and put them into our environment. So what we talk to a lot of the drivers about is go get yourself some experience.
I mean, that's the thing. Yeah, we're not a school. We're not a school. We're here to our job is to win races, be at the front, and give our partners some return for their dollar.
Safe is fast is somewhat contradictory, but it's a play on words. It's an acronym, and being skilled, being fit, in order, assured, fit, it all has a role in performing well on the racetrack, and also impressing other people, which is always part of the deal to success. People have to acknowledge your success. Experience is hard to get because usually it takes experience to get experience. It's a bit of a catch-22. When kids are first starting out, people don't want to put them in cars because they don't have any experience. But then how do you get experience if you're never put in any cars? So it is often a challenge. You've got to get a good skill set. You've got to stay fit. More and more that becomes important, especially in endurance races.